Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little on May 19, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska, is one of the most iconic and polarizing figures in American history. His life, marked by transformation and a relentless pursuit of justice, captivated the nation and the world. Malcolm X's journey from a troubled and disadvantaged youth to a prominent civil rights leader is a story of resilience, self-discovery, and empowerment. This biography will delve into the life and times of Malcolm X, shedding light on his early years, his transformation in prison, his rise to prominence as a minister for the Nation of Islam, and his eventual evolution into a global advocate for civil rights and social justice. Early life and family background. Malcolm X's early life was characterized by adversity and instability. His father, Earl Little, was a dark-skinned man of mixed African and European heritage who struggled against the racism and bigotry of his time. Earl was a follower of Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican-born black nationalist who advocated for black self-reliance, and he often faced threats and violence due to his activism. Malcolm's mother, Louise Little, was a fair-skinned woman of Caribbean descent. The Littles were staunch followers of Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNI, which aimed to promote black pride and independence. Malcolm was the fourth of 7 children, and his family moved frequently, in part due to the harassment and threats they received. In 1929, when Malcolm was just 4 years old, their family home in Lansing, Michigan, was burned down by white supremacists. This event, which many believe to be racially motivated, left a lasting impression on the young Malcolm. In 1931, tragedy struck when Malcolm's father was found dead on a streetcar track in Lansing, in what was reported as a streetcar accident. However, given the frequent death threats against him, many suspect that he was a victim of foul play. After his father's death, Malcolm's family's financial situation became dire, and Louise Little struggled to make ends meet. The family was soon separated, with the children placed in various foster homes, and Malcolm, along with his siblings, faced a difficult and often traumatic upbringing. This early experience of instability, racism, and the impact of his father's activism would significantly shape Malcolm's worldview and his later activism. Criminal youth and incarceration. Malcolm's adolescence was tumultuous, marked by a life of crime, delinquency, and rebellion. He dropped out of school at 15, turning to a life of petty theft and drug use. He moved to Boston, where he became involved in a life of crime, and his criminal activities culminated in his arrest and conviction for burglary in 1946. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but his time behind bars would prove to be transformative. During his incarceration, Malcolm experienced an intellectual awakening. He began to read voraciously, educating himself about history, philosophy, and religion. He started with the dictionary, copying it word for word to improve his vocabulary and language skills. His reading list grew to include a wide range of subjects, from literature and history to religion and politics. The turning point in his transformation was his discovery of the Nation of Islam and the teachings of its leader, Elijah Muhammad. The Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam, NOI, is a religious and political movement founded in the early 20th century in Detroit, Michigan. The NOI sought to promote black self-sufficiency, empowerment, and the separation of the black community from white society. Central to their beliefs was the idea that white people were inherently evil and that black people were the original people of the earth. They also believed that Allah, God, would provide salvation for black people. While Malcolm was still in prison, he became a devoted follower of the Nation of Islam and adopted its teachings, which had a profound impact on his identity and worldview. Upon his release from prison in 1952, he joined the NOI and adopted the last name X to symbolize the loss of his African identity due to the enslavement of his ancestors. He soon became a charismatic and influential minister within the organization, advocating for black self-determination, separation from white society, and the rejection of white Christianity. Malcolm X's role within the Nation of Islam expanded rapidly, and he became one of the most prominent and articulate spokespeople for the movement. His fiery and uncompromising rhetoric, along with his charismatic presence, attracted many followers, and he helped the NOI grow in prominence and membership. The Black Muslim Mosque, as it was often called, grew steadily under Malcolm's leadership, with a national reach. Malcolm's speeches, often filled with fiery rhetoric, aimed to awaken and mobilize African Americans, especially those who had suffered from the effects of racial discrimination. He emphasized Black pride, economic self-sufficiency, and the rejection of white values and culture. His impassioned calls for self-determination resonated with many African Americans who had grown disillusioned with the slow progress of the mainstream civil rights movement. Rift with the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X's rise within the Nation of Islam was not without its challenges. While he was instrumental in the organization's growth, his increasing prominence also led to tensions with the nation's leader, Elijah Muhammad. In 1963, Malcolm learned of allegations that Muhammad had engaged in extramarital affairs with some of his secretaries, which ran counter to the strict moral code the Nation of Islam upheld. Malcolm, deeply troubled by this revelation, faced a moral dilemma. His decision to address these allegations publicly marked a significant turning point in his relationship with the Nation of Islam. In 1963, he made a series of statements that criticized Muhammad's behavior, leading to his suspension from the organization. Malcolm's suspension evolved into a formal split, and he left the Nation of Islam in March 1964. This marked the end of his affiliation with the religious movement that had played a pivotal role in his life and activism. The transformation and evolvement. Malcolm's departure from the Nation of Islam was a period of profound personal and ideological change. He embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that had a profound impact on his worldview. During his pilgrimage, Malcolm witnessed a more inclusive and universal interpretation of Islam, one that embraced people of all races and backgrounds, which challenged the racial separatism he had preached while with the Nation of Islam. The experience in Mecca was a turning point that led him to embrace a more inclusive vision of civil rights. Upon his return to the United States, Malcolm adopted a new name, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, to reflect his deeper understanding of Islam and to distance himself from his previous association with the Nation of Islam. He founded two organizations, the Muslim Mosque Incorporated and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, OAU. These new groups aim to promote civil rights, self-determination, and social justice for African Americans while maintaining a broader vision of inclusivity and cooperation with other civil rights organizations. Malcolm's speeches and beliefs became more conciliatory as he began advocating for unity among various civil rights groups and people of different races who shared a commitment to justice and equality. His transformation and evolving beliefs reflected his willingness to work with a broader coalition of activists and advocates, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose approach to civil rights differed significantly from Malcolm's earlier stance. Malcolm X's message and impact. Malcolm X's evolving message in the final year of his life emphasized the importance of Black pride, self-determination, and self-defense. He continued to advocate for African Americans to assert their rights and seek justice by any means necessary, but he also began to focus on broader human rights issues and the need for international support. Malcolm's influence extended beyond the borders of the United States. He met with various African leaders, including Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, to build support for the civil rights movement. He addressed the United Nations, where he highlighted the global implications of racial injustice and discrimination. His international efforts aimed to expose the United States' human rights abuses and drew attention to the racial discrimination that persisted within its borders. Assassination. The last year of Malcolm's life was marked by increasing tension and threats against him. His evolving message and criticism of the Nation of Islam made him a target for violence. On February 21, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated while delivering a speech at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. 3 gunmen rushed the stage and opened fire, killing him and injuring several others. His assassination shocked the nation and the world, and it highlighted the dangers faced by civil rights activists who challenged the status quo. The aftermath and legacy. Malcolm X's legacy endures in many ways, and his impact on the civil rights movement, American society, and global advocacy for justice is immeasurable. His ideas and rhetoric continue to inspire and influence a diverse range of people, from activists to scholars and artists. Some of the key aspects of his legacy include civil rights and Black empowerment. Malcolm X remains an icon of the Black Power movement. His teachings of self-determination and Black pride continue to influence African American culture and activism. Intersectionality. Malcolm's awareness of the intersectionality of issues, including race, class, and gender, laid the groundwork for future movements advocating for a more comprehensive understanding of oppression and inequality. International advocacy. Malcolm's efforts to internationalize the civil rights movement contributed to a greater awareness of racial discrimination worldwide and the need for human rights on a global scale. Influence on leaders. His ideas and charisma left a lasting impression on leaders such as Nelson Mandela and activists like Huey P. Newton and the Black Panther Party. His influence can be seen in their advocacy for racial equality and justice. Inspiration for hip-hop culture. Malcolm X's image, words, and ideas have been prominently featured in hip-hop culture. His message of resistance and self-empowerment resonates with many in the genre. Challenging prejudices. Malcolm X's transformation from a criminal and advocate of Black separatism to a human rights activist and advocate for unity underscores the power of change and personal growth. Challenging preconceived notions and prejudices. Malcolm X's life is a testament to the transformative power of education, self-discovery, and the pursuit of justice. His journey from a troubled youth to a charismatic leader of the Nation of Islam and, ultimately, an advocate for human rights and unity is a story of resilience and determination. Malcolm X's legacy continues to influence discussions on race, civil rights, and social justice, and his impact on the world, both during his lifetime and in the years since his assassination, remains profound. His life serves as a reminder that individuals have the power to change, grow, and evolve, and that they can play a vital role in addressing societal injustices. Malcolm X's message of self-determination, self-empowerment, and a commitment to justice for all continues to inspire generations of activists and advocates for equality and human rights.